bring in a friend of the show, David Cobb from CBS Sports, covers college football and college basketball for CBS Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at David W. Cobb. David, how you doing? And Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, man. Same to you. Doing all right. Getting ready for college football playoffs tomorrow night. Kind of an exciting time of year. And then after that, it'll be all basketball for me for the next couple of months. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to that. I mean, bowl season is cool. I'm looking forward to seeing Shane Beamer get dumped with mayo here in a few minutes. But it's also been a kind of a rough bowl season between all the cancellations, all the opt-outs. Last night, for example, Oklahoma-Oregon should have been a really fun game. In the past, 15 years ago, you can, watch that game and, actually feel like you're seeing, two teams that actually want to play, two teams that have something on the line. It's just not the case anymore for bowl season. So I'm not here ragging on bowls. It's great to have on in the background. It's better than not having the bowls and all that. I'm not a hater, but at the same time, I'm kind of ready for games that matter. And after the college football playoff ends, that'll be basketball.
I'm with you, David. It has been a little disappointing with all the opt-outs. And, we'll talk about the CFP here. And I saw that, I think it was before Christmas, you wrote in the story about for CBSSports.com about the playoff committees, forfeit rules and, how that all could shape out. Do you think that they'll stick with their initial rules of it'll be a forfeit if you can't play and if you decided that the COVID cases are too much? Or do you think that they'll relax that to get these games played regardless of time schedule? Because if I remember right reading, if the games can't be made up by the 15th of January, then healthiest team wins, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy. But where there's a will, there's a way. So I think they're going to stick to this policy, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. I would venture to guess that in some of these instances where we saw teams drop out of bowl games, I would maybe suggest that if they had been playing in the college football playoff instead of a mediocre bowl game, maybe the contact tracing wouldn't have been quite as intense. Or maybe they would have been a little bit less stringent on testing everyone. I don't know, just throwing that out there. It's just an idea that's come across my mind a few times because, no doubt about it, the college football playoff is pretty strict on the fact that they cannot reschedule these semifinal games just because the team has COVID-19 issues. So, I mean, if we get down to noon tomorrow and, if somebody's entire offensive line was contact traced or whatever, and they can't play, well, sorry, you lose. And so because they're so strict on it, I think all the teams involved are going to find a way for that not to be an issue. And that's totally fine with me. I think we're at a point in time in society and in sports where we need to acknowledge the fact that, just because a 19-year-old has been in contact with somebody who has the Omicron variant doesn't mean that their life is at risk. Let's just be real. So they're going to play the games tomorrow. I feel pretty confident about that. And then, of course, it's the national championship game after that. And there's only a little bit of wiggle room with that one as well. So I don't think they're going to change these policies. I think they're pretty cut and dry, and I think these programs are doing what they need to do to be sure that they can actually suit up tomorrow.
Yeah, and reading your stuff and kind of getting ready for the CFP, you've got me kind of high on the Dogs. I think a lot of people are a little low on them, especially with Kirby Smart coming out again saying, that Stetson Benton's the guy. That's what we're doing. We're not going to have this controversy. He's our starter. But you laid out a lot of good reasons why people shouldn't be down on Georgia. Do you think they've got a legitimate, real shot to finally get their first national championship since 1980?
Yeah, I mean, I bet the people in Arkansas think so. I mean, because think about the way that Arkansas-Georgia game. That was a top 10 matchup, or top 15 at least. I forget exactly where Arkansas was ranked. And Arkansas is a good team. There's no doubt about it, no question. Arkansas is a really good football team. And the way that Georgia dominated them and dominated pretty much everybody else on their regular season schedule, I think is something that we're starting to forget a little bit because of the way the SEC championship game went. And then because of how good Michigan looked in its win over Ohio State, and then in the Big Ten championship game. And so I think we're letting some recency bias maybe fade Georgia a little bit when really there's no reason to be sleeping on the Dogs. They're still, I think, have one of the best defenses in the 21st century that we've seen in college football. And I think that offense still has another gear that it can reach, even with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. I mean, it's an offense that has played all year with a myriad of injuries that would have crippled any other team. And yet Georgia's been able to fight through them with, a true freshman tight end and a redshirt freshman 3-star wide receiver as their leading targets. I mean, it's just been incredible. So they've got enough health back on offense, and enough, I think, that they held back throughout the regular season because they didn't need to show it all as they were dominating everyone. And I think we're going to see a version of Georgia tomorrow that more closely resembles the version that the Arkansas fans saw during that game, a few months ago, because that's who Georgia is. Not who we saw in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Arkansas, they play their bowl game on Saturday. First game of the 2022 calendar year kickoff scheduled as of now at 11 in the Outback Bowl. What are your thoughts on Arkansas versus Penn State, especially with all the opt-outs Penn State has had here in the last few days?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good chance for Arkansas to close the season with some momentum. I mean, the potential of being 9-4 in year two under Sam Pittman after the Chad Morris era, going the way it did, really just an unbelievable job. Even if they, weren't to come out on top, this to me is a fun bowl game for Arkansas because it's actually a celebration. It kind of feels more like what a bowl game is supposed to be. You get to go somewhere where the weather's nice and. Your opponent does have, some key guys opting out, and Penn State's had a rough year, and, they're just kind of ready to hit the reset button, I think. But in the case of Arkansas, this is a celebratory moment for the program, and you get a chance to put the capper on a great year and, go forward into 2022 with some real momentum. So when I look at bowls, one of the key factors that I look at when picking them is motivation. And I think Arkansas will be more motivated to play in that game and to do well in that environment than Penn State. So I like the Hogs in that spot. I think they've got a shot to close it out. What would it be? I think 5 out of 6 games to close the season. I think if they can win it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 5 out of 6 if they're able to close it out. We're talking with David Cobb from CBS Sports, who writes all things college football and college basketball. Switching over to the SEC basketball, big opening day yesterday in SEC play, starting with Arkansas State game. Know when I texted you last night, it was kind of short notice if you could join me today. You told me you were watching the game. What were your thoughts? JD Notae was obviously out, the leading scorer for Arkansas and the leading scorer in the SEC. Do you think Arkansas fans have any reason to worry, or is it just first game of many in SEC play?
No, yeah, exactly. I think the stock is low. It's dipping on Arkansas right now because of the Hofstra game and just obviously, last night maybe folks are maybe in the country at large or maybe starting to fade Arkansas a little bit. But this is kind of the moment in time where I think you buy stock on Eric Musselman because we all know when you remake your roster on an annual basis with transfers, it can take you a while to really get things going and firing at a good rate. And so they lose last night without JD Notae, but they're certainly not the only team that's going to be dealing with stuff like that. I mean, Tennessee went on the road against Alabama without John Fulkerson and Kennedy Chandler, came up just short. Drew, you and I both follow Memphis.
Yeah.
They were on the road last night without their top 3 scorers. They lost. It was also an issue in the other game last night between ranked teams with Providence taking down a Seton Hall team that was down like 5 guys, including one of their starters and key players. So it's going to be everywhere. I think the committee is going to look at those games a little bit differently. And at the end of the day, an SEC road loss against a team like Mississippi State isn't really going to hurt you. I think Mississippi State could end up being pretty good. So I still like Arkansas. I'm a little concerned with how reliant they are on JD Notae. It just seems a little bit ridiculous sometimes when you pull up the box score and just see that he takes it seems like just an incredible volume of that team's shots. But maybe good for guys like, Amude to have the ball in their hands a lot last night. And like Devo Davis, probably played one of his better games. So, maybe there's some positives to take from it there. And maybe Arkansas is not going to be as good as they were last year, but they're recruiting at a really high level. They're going to be good in the future. And if this is a slight dip this year, then it's not the end of the world. But even still, given all that's going on, I think that slight dip, at worst is a 500 season in the SEC.
Mm-hmm. David, two bigger matchups of yesterday, and I kind of want to know, which one do you think was more impressive? Was it, and ultimately in a losing effort with Tennessee playing without Kennedy Chandler, barely losing to Alabama, Tennessee having control of that game for most of it until the last few minutes of the game when Alabama took over and was able to get the win? Or was it Auburn's double-digit win over LSU?
Yeah, I'm really starting to love Auburn. I think Walker Kessler is starting to really play up to his full potential. I'm pretty sure they added a rebound to his stat line last night for Auburn. And so if that's the case, he ended up with triple-double in points, rebounds, and blocks.
Wow.
Which is obscene when you consider that he's playing next to Jabari Smith, who some people now have as the projected number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. So outside of Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren at Gonzaga, I don't know that there's a better 1-2 punch in the country in a front court than what Auburn has. And then I just love the way their guards play too. I mean, Katie Johnson, the Georgia transfer, he's just ferocious out there. He just plays so hard. He's a good shooter. And then they got a couple of transfer guards who are undersized, who are really easy to like, in Wendell Green and then Zeb Jasper as well. So they're super deep. They play a really fun style. I mean, Auburn home games are really fun to watch, just because that place is just so raucous when they get going. So I guess to answer your question, I was really, really, really impressed with Auburn last night, starting that game out with an 18-1 lead. That was phenomenal. I think if I had to pick right now and kind of reorder the way I'm looking at the SEC as the new calendar year approaches, I think I'm putting Auburn 1 and Kentucky 2, because those to me are the two teams that are playing the best entering conference play, and it's really not even close.
Talking with David Cobb from CBS Sports. David, we're up against a break, but I do have to ask, our big topic of the day has been reflecting on 2021. So in 15, 20, 25 years, when your children to ask you about what 2021 was like and you tell all the negatives, what's the one positive thing that you think you'll always remember? It can be sports related, life related, anything. What was your big moment of 2021?
We'll go sports here, and I'm gonna say that I'll probably never forget Jalen Suggs hitting that half court shot.
Oh, that was a good one.
Send Gonzaga to the national title game. I mean, if they'd gone on to win the Natty, it would be just an iconic moment. But even still, huge shot to cap one of the best NCAA tournament games of my lifetime. So that would be, in terms of what I cover, absolutely the thing that I'll probably remember the most.
That is definitely a good one. Well, David, I appreciate you joining me, especially on a late notice. You and yours have a great new year, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks. That is David Cobb from CBS Sports, covering college football and college basketball. Follow him on Twitter at David W.
BetOnline has you covered for all the holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all sports action. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV to receive your bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports.